Okay, what we're doing here is we're doing really proportions and we're doing unit rates. Unit rate essentially means give it to us for every one. What I mean by this is right here they say you've got 1,849 parts in 4 hours, but we want to know a unit rate. We want to know how many for every 1 hour. Okay, so what we've got to do is we've got to say, okay, that equals how many parts every 1 hour. And now we just solve it as a proportion. And remember what we do when we solve proportions, we say this times this, 4 times x or 4x equals, equals this times this, or 1,849 times 1, or 1,849. Okay? And now when we divide both sides by 4, we get, oops, sorry about that. We get 4x divided by 4 equals 1,849 divided by 4. And we will then get x is equal to, and what I need to do now is I need to divide, and I'm going to zoom in on my page here, and I'm going to do this problem here. 1,849 divided by 4. And we go 4 goes into 18 4 times is 16. Four goes into 24 6 times. That is 24. And down to 9. 4 goes into 9 2 times. That's 8. 1 left over. And I can write that now as a 1/4 or 0.25, right? But now I'm going to shrink this back down. And we've got x is equal to 462 and 1/4 parts per hour. Okay, and let me just check my answers against the answer key. Yeah, it says 462 parts per hour because they rounded it off to the nearest part. Okay, so you set it up as a proportion, you solve it. We're going to do that for the rest of these too. Here we go. A flock of geese migrated 1,623 miles in 28 days. What's the average rate of miles per day? So we want to bring it down to how many miles is that for every 1 day? This is a unit rate. Okay, and again, we're going to multiply this times this, and we get 1,623. And we're going to do this times this, 28 times x, or 28x. And then, of course, we've got to divide both sides by 28. 1,623 divided by 28 equals 28x. Divided by 28. And we get, well, we're going to have to do this division problem. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to do it just like I did earlier. Okay? We've got to do, oops. Let me lock all of this. So now when I zoom in, I'm going to do 1,623 divided by 28. Okay, and I know that this is about 25. It's a little more than 25. So I'm going to think of groups of 25. This is close to 150. So how many 25s in 150? There's 6. So I'm going to say, okay, what is 28 times 6? 48. Carry the 4. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 4 is 16. 168. Oh, that's too big. So I need to do 5. Okay, because I don't have 168 here, I only have 162. So I'm going to go in 5 times, which is 140. I can multiply by 5 in my head. So I say, okay, that's 140. And I get 22. Bring down the 3. How many times does 28 go into 23? I'm going to guess about 8 times and see what I get. Okay, 28 times 8. 64. 8 times 2 is 16. 22. Oh, it's so close. So close. It's 224 and I have 223 that it's essentially round to 58, right? It's as close as we're going to get to any whole number. So since we're kind of average estimating it, I'm going to shrink this down. Oops. Where is it? Why isn't it shrinking? There you go. Sorry about the jankiness of this video. Okay, but it's about 58 because when I divided it, I was only 1 off from being exactly 58. Okay, and that is 58 miles per day. What is they travel in miles per day? 58 miles per day. Okay, and one more here. Let's do this one. Total cost to run a rowboat is $16 per hour. That is $16 for every 1 hour. Okay. How long can you run a boat for $224? So that would be $224 for how many hours? Okay, we don't know the number of hours, but we do know that it would cost that. We're going to do it like a proportion. We're going to say this times this, 16x equals this times this, 224. And now what we're going to do is we're going to say that 16x divided by 16, and that 224 divided by 16 will give us x, which what stands for x? How long can you rent the boat? X is the number of hours. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to do this problem, 224 divided by 16. $224 divided by 16. 16 goes into 22 once. Borrow from that, that's a 1, that's 12, so that's 6. And I know my multiplication to know that 16 times 4 is exactly 64. So I can shrink this down. And say, what do we get? 14. So I can say, how long can you rent the boat? 14 hours. All of these I set them up as proportions to say we're missing some value. If it's 1,849 parts in 4 hours, how many is that for every 1 hour? The geese go 1,623 miles in 28 days. How many is that for 1 day? Okay. If it's $16 for every 1 hour, how many? $224 is how many hours? Proportions.